Every single one of us has faced didn't see it coming moments. A layoff, a divorce, a diagnosis, maybe a change in the structure of your role or the entire organization, or like this thing called regionalization. Maybe you've had a didn't see it coming moment that you've had to figure out how to navigate, something that you did not ask for, something that maybe you didn't especially like, but you had to figure out how to respond and what to do about it. Now, I know what that's like. I faced my own didn't see it coming moments. And one of them was on May 3rd of 2020. It's about 7 weeks into the pandemic. We are washing our groceries, like the bags from the outside, remember this? We're making sourdough bread and meeting neighbors that we never even knew existed. My husband is teaching elementary school phys ed on Zoom from our basement. This is not what he signed up for when he decided to be a teacher. And if any of you had kiddos during that time that were on virtual learning, there are only so many ways you can turn a pair of socks into a ball and like do something with it for gym. But he had to get very creative and figure that stuff out. And here I am, about 8 months after leaving my corporate job of 13 years to do a thing that I thought was a great idea at the time, which was to start a professional speaking business. And in a matter of weeks, 85% of my business, as the primary earner of my family, is completely wiped out. So my husband and I decide to go for a run. It's an overcast Sunday afternoon in Baltimore. And we are heading up a hill. We're chatting with each other in conversation. He's a few steps ahead of me. And as we cross the intersection, I didn't see it coming. When the Chevy Silverado pickup truck in the right lane took a turn directly into me. Now, I could sense it in my periphery that it was starting to move, and so I turned my body to face the truck, and I put my hands on the hood like I'm Superman. I'm going to stop this thing from moving, obviously. Anyone ever been in a Chevy Silverado? This is not a Prius, okay? I put my hands up on the hood to stop this truck from moving. The driver doesn't see me. He keeps going into the intersection. I'm 2 to 3 feet off the ground. I'm traveling with the front of the hood of this truck into the intersection, and suddenly he realizes, oh my gosh, there's a human on my truck. And he slams on the brakes, and I slide off, and I hit the ground hard. I feel like I've gotten the wind knocked out of me. I can't breathe, and I look up, and I see my husband, his back to oncoming traffic at the other side of the intersection, completely frozen in place, watching this entire thing unfold, unable to do anything about it. And he runs over to me and takes me to the sidewalk, and the next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance, sirens whirring, and I'm being rushed to the hospital where I'm told that I have a spinal fracture. I spent the next few months in a back brace, sleeping in a recliner in my living room, unable to bend, lift, twist, or even be hugged. And about 48 hours after this happened, I was on Zoom giving a presentation to a group of HR leaders about building hope and resilience in the midst of uncertainty, which was something that I had already planned before getting hit by a truck. You can laugh at that, it's okay. Spoiler alert, like I survived, everybody, I made it. I'm okay. But I wondered maybe if I'd picked a different speaking topic, like abundance or joy or gratitude, maybe I wouldn't have gotten hit by a truck. And I made a decision in the wake of this accident and the recovery of it. Because when something happens to you that you don't want to have happen, you can become really bitter about it. You can stay upset. You can feel sorry for yourself. And I have moments where I did that. But I made this very important choice, and it changed everything for me. I decided that even though I didn't choose it, I'm going to find a way to use it. Even though I didn't choose it, I was going to find a way to use it. And I thought back to an experience I had in the trauma room at the hospital that day. The day of the accident, I'm there by myself because of all the restrictions. My husband could not even be there with me, so I'm alone at the hospital by myself all day. And after doing all these tests and scans, the radiologist comes in. He has the personality of a doorknob. Like, this guy had nothing going on. He had a mask on. I couldn't really see his face. And he comes and stands next to my bed, and he looks at me and says, so there's a fracture. Do you want me to call your husband? And I start crying, 35-year-old, very active woman, and he doesn't know what to do with that, so he just walks out of the room and leaves me there by myself. The next thing I know, Another provider walks in. Her name is Ashley. She goes, "Why are you crying?" I was like, "Look at my chart. I think it's fairly obvious. This is not my best day ever." And she goes, "Oh, you have the best kind of fracture." I was like, anybody here competitive? Anybody else here competitive in this room? Just curious. You like to be the best? So now I perk up. I'm like, she just said I'm the best at something. I have the best kind of fracture. Tell me more. She's like, well, it's like a compression fracture, so it's kind of like a soda can that got crunched as opposed to a compound fracture where something's sticking out. Then she says, let me tell you a story. When I was in my early 20s, I got really sick and no one could figure out why. I was vomiting and I was losing all this weight and I saw all these doctors and no one knew what was wrong with me, and eventually they figured out I had lesions on my brain and I had to have had them surgically removed. I had to relearn how to walk in my early 20s. She said, then I got out of the hospital after a few months. I'm walking to my aunt's house for a 4th of July cookout. The next thing I know, I got hit by a motorcyclist and a hit and run, and I'm back at the hospital. And she says, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, maybe I'm supposed to work in neurology. And here she is all these years later telling me her own story. And she did something for me in that moment that no one else had done for me all day. She gave me hope. And she said, you're going to be okay. And the scariest moment of my life. Sometimes you ever notice that about yourself when you're going through a hard moment and you talk to somebody who's been there and they get your struggle and they know what it's like and they tell you you're going to be okay, like you believe them. They have some credibility because they've been through some stuff. We believe people that have been through some stuff. So as I think about that situation, something stands out to me. One, the radiologist could not pick this guy out of a lineup. I don't even know what he looks like, much less his name. I will never forget Ashley Simpson. I'll never forget her. So think of a leader that's had an impact on you, somebody whose name you remember.